Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is September 16th, and this is another SIG CLI Blocker Bug Scrubs meeting that we're holding every 4 weeks. My name is Maciej, but your host today is Eddie, and Eddie will be taking it away from here. Before I do so, welcome first-timers. We are very happy to have you on our meetings. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about you, your background, what your expectations are, and so forth?
I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Pamela. I'm based in Dublin, in Ireland. I'm a DevOps engineer at Workday. I have been wanting to get more involved in open source for the last year. They're really pro it in Workday, so I thought the CLI group was a good place to start. I kind of had a few chats at KubeCon Virtual with people, and this seemed like a good group.
Cool, welcome. If you have any particular questions or issues for reviews, hit me up on Slack. I'm in the same time zone because I'm based in Poland, so it will be much easier for you to sync with me sooner than later. Do we have anyone else that is new to our meetings?
Yes, my name is Douglas, and I work as software engineer. I just came here as a first timer. I started looking for kubectl plugins, and I discovered the SIG. So I just joined to see what you guys doing, what you guys maybe need help, just like that.
Awesome, welcome.
Hello everyone, this is Dinesh. This is my first this meeting. So last week I attended the bi-weekly catch-up. So this is my first the bug scrap meeting.
Yeah, I remember you, Dinesh. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll go next. Hey everyone, I'm Yuvraj. Like Dinesh, I attended the last week's bi-weekly meeting, and I thought attend the 6 scrub meetings so that I can pick up some work. Thank you.
Perfect, welcome. Anyone else?
I can go next.
Go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is João. I'm from Brazil. I've been floating around the Kubernetes community for, I think, 1 year, and I finally got the courage to actually join this meeting. I was, last year, I was living in San Francisco, so I had the opportunity to go to one of the community events there in the Google office. It was really nice. And now I'm back to Brazil, and I hope that I can be helpful. That's it.
Awesome, welcome. Okay, I think the rest is people I remember seeing beforehand. So Eddie, off to you.
Okay, can you all see this okay?
Yep.
I lost my chat window. There it is. Okay, so here's the dashboard we'll be going through if anyone wants to follow along at home. Also, welcome to everyone new. Before we dive into those issues, I have a couple that Phil has tagged me on, but of course Phil's not able to make it today. So hopefully we could take a look at them. This one is specific. Do we have Sean at least?
Yep, I've seen Sean
Cool.
on the list.
So this one Phil tagged me on back in August. This is for customize, so strategic merge support for CRDs.
This is would be much wider than just customize, wouldn't it? so that customize can apply patches. Okay.
Here, I'll drop in a link here. As the strategic merge isn't handled correctly by customize, leading to overwritten fields.
So this is definitely going to be assigned to monopole.
Okay.
There's also a guy named Donnie Gia, I think, who should know about this. I don't know his handle off the top, but I will look for it. But Jeff Reagan, whose handle is monopole, who's leading customize, should be made aware of this at the very least.
Okay.
Is there any other labels we can add to this? Is there a customized label? Maybe we should make that if we haven't already.
So this is actually in the customized repo.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
But we don't have a needs triage list.
Adnan probably correctly pointed to a duplicate of 1510, which is kind of related because the 1510 is discussing a broader term, including strategic merge patch for native cube objects. But I would probably defer to either Jingfang or Jeff to make the final call on that one.
Okay, I'll tag Jeff on here. If anyone on the call wants to dive in and maybe triage and see if they can reproduce and actually nail down like a nice case, feel free to toss your name on here.
It looked like the initial description was actually pretty good, straightforward, from what I could tell.
I will tag Jeff. We might need Phil to actually go through this one at some point because I don't know why Phil just didn't tag Jeff on it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a little odd.
So, all right, we'll keep that on the backlog for now. The other one is this one. kubectl proxy not working for kube contexts with base path. So it looks like it's dropping the base path when it's going to do a proxy.
Yeah,
Okay.
This looks reasonable. Probably somewhere along the road before the code is being passed to the API machinery library, we are cutting the rest of the URL. Maybe it should be pretty straightforward fix or an option that is exposed in the proxy command.
Any first timers want to take a look at this one?
Yeah, I can take it. I can take a look at this one. Yuvraj.
Cool. Awesome. Could you /assign yourself on the issue, please?
Yeah, sure.
And waiting more evidence. Yeah, if you're able to reproduce it and stuff, then we can change the priority. Cool. Thank you. And if you need help, reach out to Mache or myself or someone.
Thank you.
Okay. Last one on the list that Phil tagged me on. Oh, this one. Sean, I think this one just needs an approve from you. This is that port. Yes.
UDP? Okay.
We missed a cherry pick deadline for 119.2, so we'll have to get it in for the next cherry pick.
Okay. I'll have a look at that one right now.
Cool. Okay. That's easy. So going through here, issue 901. kubectl top pods doesn't honor the flag sort by when it's used together with -- containers. Looks like Brian was on here. Brian assigned it to himself and opened a PR. Oh, Brian's here. Awesome.
Yeah, I was late. Sorry.
Macha, you're assigned for approval here.
Yep. I'll add that one to my tomorrow's list.
Cool.
Sorry for the delays. My backlog is a little bit messy, but yeah, I'll definitely add it to my list for either today or tomorrow for sure.
Okay, I'm going to add a priority so this gets out of here. Okay, next one. Number 926, port forwarding fails after restarting the pod that is being forwarded to. I think that's expected behavior, though kind of, I don't know how you'd get around that.
We probably are missing. So the majority of in the code behind, if I'm correct, responsible for setting this up is capable of having a callback. I'm not sure if usually there's a SIG term callback. I'm not sure if the pod dies, we can catch that one, but it's probably something we could look into. And if so, then just close the connection on our end. I'm not 100% sure. I do know that we have a callback, but for client-side changes. And that callback is being used probably in the debug command.
They're on a good version. Okay. This is backlog, right? I wouldn't. Okay.
It's definitely something to look into.
If anyone on the call wants to take this on, it might be a little tough as a first issue.
Yeah, it will require a little bit more digging in.
Field selector option for top pod. Okay, so I looked into this one, and it is I think the solution is just to use the factory builder, because then we can pass along and get the selector for free. But it did not look like an easy refactor.
The question is how good or bad the kubectl top plot is. So, yeah, it might require some rewrite in the kubectl top command.
So since it would be adding a flag that's not there, we might want to get some consensus. So this isn't a bug, so to speak, right? This is a feature.
It's
If
more
that's
about
the case.
consistency between commands.
Right.
So it's probably at the border of a bug and a feature request, where
Okay.
I can argue in both directions, but it would be nice if across all of the commands we have a consistent behavior. So, yeah.
Should we put that in the issue then? Because right now, if it's not already, just to keep that context going forward, that we want this consistency, and that's why this particular new flag is a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure to comment there.
Okay, thanks much. And can you just note that it might just need the builder, put it in the factory?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, here is all should ask for confirmation, which I know Mache just did a FAQ edit for because he told me. For context, for those that aren't plugged in, we have reoccurring issues in pull requests and feature requests that come up that have a historical answer. And so we have started to capture those answers now, so we have something to point to.
Yep. And I dig out the entire history if you look at the numbers. But it's there.
Confirmation when using all. Oh, yes, all. Okay. All right, I'll get this PR'd so we can link to it, and then I'll reply on this one. Okay, 920. Port forwarding for services should favor choosing newer pods over older pods. This one, we brought this up last week. I think it was a bit of a conversation we needed to have about expanding this to give people the option to sort those or something.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was the call. And I was meant to write something down there, probably.
You were, but that's okay.
I'll make a note for myself and I'll look in the recording what I said then.
Okay. Okay. So this is from Phil. Support not flattening resources for kube control apply. Support not flattening resources. I'm not sure what he means with an items field.
It's part of the resource builder, but I can't remember what exactly. The flat
Yes,
was
there
doing.
is a flat in there.
So I think the flatten automatically will, whenever there's a list, it'll spit out the entire list, I believe.
Yeah, it allows you basically to directly walk the object instead of you having to go into the items and then iterate over that.
So as it stands now in the apply, we're grabbing every single one of the objects before we iterate through an apply. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure how we would not flatten. If you want to put me on that, I'll reach out to Phil and get a better feel for what he's asking for here.
Okay. kubectl create alternatives. This was the write-up he did that I believe is supposed to be in the FAQ. I don't think there's any action to take on this right now. I'll sync with Phil to figure out what we need to do here, because this could be about the kube control generate and other stuff. Number 913, kube control get pod produces no output with watch, JSON path, and a label. Brian was on here. Brian replicated it, but on 120, he gets an error. Looks related to the watch.
I think there was a bug with iterating over items in the JSON path or over a map. I can't remember which one, but I think there's an open PR. I would have to dig it up.
Just so we know, this part of the code can get pretty opaque and Byzantine. The printing part, it's So bring this up. I'm not sure that this would be a great first issue is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
This part of the code may be hard to grok.
What's Antoine's GitHub username?
A police.
A police.
You're missing it, yeah. Okay, so I think I have to. I need to check the other one, but I think APR 9137 is touching this topic. This PR fixes the JSON path for objects.
I wonder if this is related to this one with not outputting the results. This is chunking related.
This is the one that I'm talking about. It might be related to that particular. If I remember correctly, at some point in time, there was a iteration being handled. Although actually items, well, no, items is one of the examples that that he is covering in here in the tests. So it might be actually being worked on.
This author said he addressed the changes and
if I remember correctly, it was waiting for Clayton's feedback. Yeah, but I think that will be connected with that one. I'll leave a comment in the original issue.
okay. Support multiple endpoints for a cluster. Phil opened this, and I said we probably need a KEP for this one.
We had a similar discussion back at our for OpenShift, although that was for something else. And there was a similar ask basically where someone was asking to add the ability to have multiple IPs being configured so that the client-side code would do load balancing in case of a failure. And basically, all of us agree that that's not quite how you should be doing this. Because if you have a AJ setup, I would expect you have a proper load balancer being put in front of it. That would take care of ensuring which endpoint is being available and covering both cases of load balancing so that the load is equally spread and to properly balance the load when one of the endpoints is down. So I would be against doing this one here.
Do you want to write that up? I think either way, this needs to be closed here and it can be reopened under the main repo because this is like a SIG multi-cluster type deal.
Yeah, I'll leave a comment.
Okay. Can you close it too, please?
Yeah, we'll do.
Thank you. Okay. Age printer column is no more reported when adding additional ones. This is so familiar with age.
It's not the same. There were some age problems with having to do with jobs that had to get started multiple times or something like that. This is a problem of the age column. So when you define additional printer columns in your CRD spec, then age. So if you don't define any additional printer columns, then you get age by default. But as soon as you put one additional printer column in there, you no longer get age. So you have to add age back in yourself, like I showed on the last list item there under additional printer columns.
Yeah, that is correct. We had to come up with something to have as a default, and the name is always printed. Anything else is the default. If you want to have it, you need to explicitly set, because majority, if you want to have full control over your additional printing columns, you are basically taking it all, except for name, which is always printed because it's crucial for people to be able to get a particular resource. So we can close this one as not a bug.
Working as intended.
Yeah.
Brian, you okay doing that one?
Yeah, you want me to close it?
Yes, please.
Sure thing.
With the default behavior confirmed.
Yeah, I'll write down what we just said there and I'll close it.
Thank you. Okay, last one on this list. So this is for advanced targeting selector type DLE of a apply in a YAML file. Feature request. And Brian suggested using selectors works.
Well, honestly, if you're using kubectl apply, and the only change, first of all, if you're doing a proper Git-based operation, you'll have a current state in your repo, and if you modify one particular element of your deployment, you do want to have that particular thing being reflected in your Git as well. And then if you apply the entire directory, once again, only the changes will be applied. So I think that Brian's answer is a good middle ground as well. But I'm not 100% sure we want to add some additional filtering capabilities to file reading that we currently have in the builder.
Yeah, I think that it would be hard to get behind something like this, given just what you mentioned, that, you know, with declarative config, what we have is what we want to have, you know, apply to the API server, and some imperative command that kind of filters ahead of time is kind of against the entire philosophy there.
Yes, totally agree. Sean, you okay writing that one up and closing this?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 900. And That clears out our unprioritized column, except for the ones Matcha needs to respond to and I need to respond to.
Yeah, I already have them opened, and I'll be doing that either later today or tomorrow for sure.
Okay. Unprioritized recent issues. Customized documentation. Typo in the, there's a PR for this. There's definitely a PR for this. There are several PRs that all fix the same typos.
The rest looks like it's already closed or merged.
Okay, I will sort through this and I will figure out if it still needs to be fixed, and if not, I will close these PRs.
Yeah, if you have one particular that needs to be approved, send it my way, and I'll make sure that it's approved.
I will sort through those. Container logs are overwritten when using kube control cluster info dump.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty simple thing to fix, because when commands such as cluster info dump was written, init containers did not exist. So it'll be pretty simple. You'll just copy a particular for loop, but instead of iterating over containers, you will have to iterate over init containers additionally. So you first iterate over init containers, then you iterate over containers, you're done. That's basically the flow.
Anyone want to take this one on?
Yeah, I'll take.
Okay, could you please / assign it to yourself? Would you say this is
Yeah.
backlogged or important long-term priority?
Whatever. Don't have any
Backlog it
particular.
is. Okay. And Sai's going to take that one. Bash more autocomplete. Where do we stand on Night 42's PR, Brian?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can follow up on that. So I think this one might be related to Azure specific. I mean, other providers might have the same issue, but I think what's happening is it is trying to launch a browser for you to log in and get your credentials if you haven't authenticated yet. Maybe it's trying to do something in the UI, I think.
I would even say that it is. So if you type kubectl get pod, and then the auto completion kicks in, it is trying to list the pods, because the next argument can be a pod name. And since you cannot get the any pods because you're not authenticated, we hang because there's no, I don't know, back off whatever mechanism in the auto completion. So I'm honestly inclined to say that this is working as expected.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, especially based on what Brian said.
Yeah, I might be wrong about that, but I think, yeah, it's definitely seems to be, yeah, I don't know. It is, so what I'm wondering as I'm saying this is, I mean, shouldn't we have something in the auto completion that is able to detect that there's a problem and not at least not hang? Is there something we can do or not?
I don't think there's a timeout for that, is there? That'd have to be Cobra, right? Cobra would have to have a timeout, because I know Bash doesn't have a timeout for that.
I think that would be a Bash thing. Because
I don't think Bash has a timeout.
At that point, we probably already passed this over, not to Cobra, because the command hasn't kicked in yet. It is the Bash auto completion. And we might be missing timeouts if there are particular ones.
That sounds off to me, but I'll trust you on that. What do we do with this? Do we?
If there's an option for a timeout in the Bash and Z shell, because that's the only two that we support, I would try to add them. If I remember correctly, we have a template somewhere in the Bash, and for ZSH as well. If not, maybe there's some flag that we're just missing setting for the completion coming from Cobra to ensure that there's some kind of a default timeout being set. So I would say, a reasonably simple thing for first timer to dig in. It's a little bit of a Bash or ZSH. You can probably fix both at the same time. They should have a similar possibilities.
Yeah, there's a weird thing about this description, though. On the example they provide, it says kubectl get pod, and then right below it, it shows there is some output being written to standard out or standard error or something that says to sign in, use a web browser. So it's definitely, I think it's sitting there waiting for them to complete the sign-in process before it, like if they popped a web browser open and went to that page, logged in, I bet the completion would work.
Yeah, it's some kind of OAuth completion or something, right?
Yeah. So it's like we should, I don't know if we can detect that, or it might not be anything we can do about it really, or we can detect that something was written to the output and fail the completion right away. Like I don't think, I mean, a timeout might work here just to get around it, I guess, but how long do we wait before we time out? I mean, probably not too long, I guess. So, but I don't know. This is curious, this whole sign in with the web browser thing.
Does anyone have access to AKS that wants to try to reproduce this and dig in a little more? If
I mean,
you do,
I'll do it. I mean, I don't have one, but I'll just set. I mean, I have an Azure account. I'll just try it out and see.
Doing time. We got 11 minutes. This is handled. I'll say this is critical urgent. Do not show deletion flags under kube control apply options. So this is, I've read this one before. So this is, we are showing that you can wait while doing a delete, but it does not actually support it. So it's getting the inherited flags from somewhere, but does not actually implement the flag. So we either should implement the flag or we should figure out where it's coming from and not output that here.
So there's been a recent change to the delete flags, or at least there's a PR to do that in order to, instead of making it a Boolean and there's a string, whether it's orphan, cascade, foreground, background, that PR may affect this. That doesn't look like the PR. May have gotten merged already.
From what I'm looking into the code of apply, we wired the delete options. We might be just not fully doing the mechanics of the delete options. So probably a wiring miss, or if we actually don't need them, I would be fine removing them. Depending on what the PR that Sean mentioned does.
Okay, I'll take a look at this one. I'll try to track down the PR. If you find it, Sean, let me know.
Yep.
Okay, got some time left. So dashboard's mostly cleaned out, which always makes me happy. This dashboard, if you haven't looked at this yet, we can write a bunch of filters to basically show us whatever we want, like issues that haven't been commented, issues that need attention. It's like the, who wrote this? Thomas wrote this. It's really cool. Maybe one day we'll figure out what we want to show in here.
There was one issue down below. This is Sally. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to tell myself. Hi. There was one, the add token file flag. I read that, and oh, it does have add needs information, but it looks like that can probably be closed.
I talked to Mache about this right before the call, and he just replied.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's an in cluster configuration.
Yeah,
I'm waiting
yeah.
for whether this this will help the original author with the issue, because he clearly states that he's using that inside of the cluster. And if he's using inside of the cluster to talk with the cluster API, then that's what the in cluster config is. And it is basically the first authentication to be used within the cluster, because that automatically is using the service account capabilities that you have that you can easily inject into a pod. So that's the preferred way of doing this, rather than manually passing the kubeconfig tokens and whatnot. And that's what he clearly was doing in his examples.
Curious to how he replies, because he was using these short-lived tokens. So does that project it to the same place? This like rotates the token.
I don't know. I haven't used those.
Okay. All right, we'll see what he replies. So I messaged you. I talked to my friend on the Tecton team about this because this guy also worked on Tecton, and the need for this, again, like last week, we're going to have a story for CI/CD eventually because we just keep getting issues related to CI/CD for kube control. So this did sound like a legit use case of people using a empty base image with just the kube control binary in it. So I think eventually we are going to have to come up with a story for this, but we'll see what he replies.
I mean, as long as this service account token volume projection is injecting those into the same place where you can expect the default service account tokens, then you're basically set. And from his examples, it looks like so, but I might be wrong. So I haven't looked into the service account token volume projection.
Okay, we'll wait till see what he says. I understand. We don't want to add more flags. I get it. I do.
I mean, if for some reason this mechanism is injecting them at a different location, honestly, I don't see any particular reason why we would not allow this flag, and it should be pretty straightforward to do.
Also, we talked about this last week. I got this part where the token output was shown. We didn't think it would like show the command, but this apparently comes from doing a set-e in your bash script.
Yeah.
And that actually, that echoes the full command. So yeah, he was right in this case.
Okay, if you're outputting the entire, then yeah, that would make sense.
That's what my buddy assumed he was doing. Okay, cool. So we are basically up on time.
Eddie, one,
yes.
Could you do one help for me? So I think there one issue in the Zoom chat. So the issue has been closed. If you think that is still valid, could you help me in reopening that?
Wasn't that fixed? I remember correctly there was a PR recently for the STS history.
Yeah, so I was the one who was trying to fix this one. I couldn't be able to reopen this issue.
Oh, it's okay. I remember there is a PR. Okay, and I see it's already, and it's approved and it's looked at them. Okay, I'll reopen the issue. It should be pretty.
I beat you to it.
Ah.
Sure. Yeah. And if you have time, please review the PR also.
But the PR is already approved. So as soon as we open the gate for 120.
Did you see the email about that though? We might not be.
I'm very cautiously applying the milestone. I've seen the email. What was unclear to me was what is the voting procedure? I mean, Steven asked, what do we want to do? But I haven't seen a particular, vote here for yes, no. It just means that probably if we don't speak up, then we will end up forcing everyone to apply the label for the entire of 120. but I might be wrong. I'll wait for the answer because Wojtek has some questions, whether it's for 120 only or if it's for an extended period of time.
Okay. Cool. Well, we're up on time. Thanks everyone for coming. We made it through. So we didn't have this last month, which is why we had a bit of a backlog of new issues, but hopefully next month we can start digging through the backlog a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks very much, everyone. And see you next week on SIG CLI. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.